Hello, my name's Ellie Harris and I'm making this video today to tell people about my cancer story. I'm making this video because a lot of people know I've been through cancer but don't necessarily understand and know what actually happened. And I feel like people should be told what happened. So I thought this was the best way to tell people. My journey begins in February 2006 when I started to get really bad backache. I went to the doctors and they felt my back, asked me to walk up down the corridors if it hurt in any particular way, and they said that it was either a sporting injury because I actually did sport, or it was growing pains. So they said to rest, take it easy, don't do as much sport as I normally did and just see how it goes. After a couple of days I'd cut back everything because I just couldn't cope with it and the pain just wasn't improving. So my mum took me to a hospital where again the doctors, felt my back, asked me to walk up and down, and they came to a conclusion that I was faking the pain and that I needed to grow up, so they sent me home. How ridiculous. I was 10 years old. I'm not exactly going to make up a pain, am I? Especially in hospital. But anyway, I knew I wasn't faking, and my mum obviously knew. So they took me to a private hospital where the doctor just took one look at me and said, you need to have a scan, there's something really wrong. So I went back to the hospital and insisted to have an MRI scan. Eventually they scanned me and they found a lump at the bottom of my spine. So I was rushed to Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, where I had a 5.5 hour operation on my back, which left me paralysed from the knee downwards. And the doctors told me I would never walk again. And obviously, me not being able to walk, I was bedbound for 2 months. If I wanted to go around, I'd have to be, lifted in and out of a wheelchair. I'd have to go around like that, being in bed for 2 months. I couldn't even roll over. If I wanted to move, they'd have to, lift me over. The reason why my legs were paralysed was because my cancer was wrapped around my spine and it was squeezing on the nerves that controlled my legs, so they weren't working properly, and there was cancer in 2 of the vertebrates in my spine, and because the cancer was so bad there was actually 2 lumps in my lungs. So I was going through treatment, having chemotherapy, radiotherapy, physio. I was having 2 sessions a day of physio, and every physio lesson I would cry, I'd scream, I'd tell everyone how much I hated them because it was just so painful. I couldn't even put my feet on the ground. I was in so much agony. It was just awful. Anyway, I was having a lot of medicines. I had to take 7 tablets 3 times a day, which actually doesn't sound a lot, but I can't take tablets, so I had to have this nose tube, it went up in my nose and down my throat into my stomach, so they crushed the medicine up and put it down there so I didn't have to go through all this hassle of taking the tablets. And also I was losing a lot of weight, so they gave me feed at night, which is just like really fatty milk, just to keep my strength up and just try and build myself up again. Anyway, I had 16 cycles of chemo, 7 weeks of radiotherapy, and obviously continuous physiotherapy. I lost my hair. Obviously, I was in a wheelchair, which obviously is just, I didn't want to be in there, obviously, because everyone stares, everyone's like, oh, what's wrong with her, kind of thing. But it didn't really bother me that much. Like, losing my hair, it wasn't a big deal. Like, it was least of my worries. I had wigs, bandanas, hats. So I could cope. So Anyway, in a year later in 2007, after all my treatment, I got the all clear from the doctors. So, you know, I was going back to school. Obviously, I was in my wheelchair, it wasn't as practical, but, you know, it didn't really matter. I was with all my friends and my family, which was so lovely. And I was, you know, back in education, so, which, you know, sucks, but, you know, I really wanted to be there because I was with everyone. Obviously, I was still having a lot of physio to keep myself walking, and you know, a couple of months after, I stood up and I walked down my hallway without any help, you know, holding on to anything, and I walked to my mum, which was just honestly the most amazing feeling ever. I was literally on top of the world right there, right then. And I obviously had to go back for a checkup, and I saw my doctor, and he'd never seen me walk before, so he took me all the way around the ward, telling everyone how proud, telling everyone how amazing it was that I was walking. So it was, you know, it was just incredible. So, you know, I was literally on top of the world. I thought, you know, all that was behind me. My hair was growing back, started secondary school, had, you know, such amazing friends, but unfortunately I didn't know what was around the corner. And in 2009, my cancer came back, but this time higher up in my spine, which meant, you know, having more treatment, spending more time in hospital. But anyway, they caught it early. You know, I'd had it before, so they knew what they were doing. It wasn't as bad as the first time, but, you know, having to go through all that again was just horrible. Anyway, I had 5 cycles of chemotherapy, 6 weeks of radiotherapy, obviously more physio because like, my feet were really hurting, so I had to have cast on my legs. I was constantly on crutches, not necessarily in a wheelchair, but you know, it was difficult. You know, I had my birthday in hospital, I missed the first day of school. You know, it wasn't really nice, but you know, there was some fun times. Anyway, in 2010 I got the all clear again, which, you know, was even more exciting than the first time because they didn't actually think I'd make it through the second time, so that was really incredible. And I've actually been cancer free for 4 years in November, so literally gonna party hard then. You know, I'm so happy that, you know, I can't believe it's been that long, but you know, it's so exciting, you know. Yeah, so I'm well now, you know, I'm at school, you know, I'm with all my friends, and yeah, it's just great. So anyway, so I wanted to make this video so people would, you know, understand what it was like and, you know, what actually happened and stuff. You know, because I feel it's important that people really know, because, you know, they don't like to bring it up in front of me because, you know, they're worried that they'll upset me or something, but I really don't mind talking about it. Yeah, and I'm hoping that, you know, some people that are, you know, still going through treatment could watch this and be encouraged by what I've said. And, you know, I've obviously I don't know how ill they are, but I was really sick and I couldn't see a future, but, you know, I'm here today. I've, you know, beaten cancer twice. I've, you know, got some hair back, you know, not a lot, but, you know, it's back. And okay, I walk differently from everybody else, you know, I know I have a limp, but to be honest, who cares, because I'm here, I'm alive, I've beaten it. You know, not a lot of people can say that. So I encourage you to, like, you know, keep going and keep fighting, because you can do it. I mean, I've beaten it twice, and I mean, if I can do it, you know, so can you. So I really encourage you to keep going, because, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and, you know, you can make it, and you can do it. And, you know, there's just so much support that you can, you know, your friends, my friends and family, I can't thank them enough for how much they've done for me. I could not have done it without them, so that was lovely. And obviously now I do a lot of volunteering I volunteer for Teenage Cancer Trust and Teens Unite, which are amazing charities that, you know, support teenagers through their treatment, you know, and after, you know, obviously, like, a lot of people, like, don't make it through their journey, which is, you know, hard on their families, but, you know, also hard for, you know, people in hospital with them, like, making friends. You know, it's so, it's so upsetting to see, but, you know, raising this awareness for these charities is just so important, because you can help them. You know, they help and support these children that are going through these tough times. So I really encourage you to follow them and, you know, help spread the word. So yeah, and I just hope this is a lesson to some people, just to, you know, be thankful for what you have and how well you are, because, you know, some girls at my school, they worry about, oh, you know, my hair's so thin and it's so short, oh, I'm not tanned enough, I'm so pale, my eyebrows. Yeah, well, you know, you have all these things, you're healthy, stop complaining, because, you know, there are people out there that, you know, are losing their hair, that have got cancer, that are in a bed, that, you know, are stuck in a wheelchair. And I know, you know, you may have problems, but just try and be happy, because, you know, you're healthy and stuff. So I hope it, like, encourages people not to care and not worry anymore. But I've made a little Twitter account of my own called at Live a Little 52, and I'd really appreciate it if you could, you know, follow that account, because, you know, I'm trying to do lots of challenges for all these charities to raise awareness. You know, I do some things at school, but raising awareness and spreading the word is just really my main priority, and, you know, I'd really appreciate it if you could all help and support me. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope it's not been too boring, and I'm sorry it's so long, but I had a lot to say. But, you know, thanks again. I really do appreciate your support, so thank you.